What's going on, guys? I'm Landon from Shoewear, and today we're checking out the newest shoe to Giannis Antetokounmpo's shoe line with Nike, the Zoom Freak 3 Project 34. Let's go. All right, so before we jump into reviewing the shoe itself, let's go ahead and hit on the box and the price first. So they switched up the box design from a little bit from last year, which I am a fan of because the Zoom Freak 2 came in like a super basic black box with this player logo on the middle on top. But for this Zoom Freak 3 design, they kind of shifted that logo to like the corner down there. And then there's going to be like a bunch of mini logos kind of meshed together that kind of covers the majority of that box. And then, of course, Giannis's name shows up on the back, containing about every letter in the alphabet twice. And I'm going to avoid saying it as much as I can throughout this review for my sake and probably everyone watching too. But for the price, these did stick with the retail price of $120, which is the same as last year's model. So no price jump to worry about yet. And this is going to be on the lower side of the spectrum for basketball shoe pricing. So you have to love that part. But that pretty much covers the box and the price on these. So let's move on. All right, so before we get into the materials and like the performance aspect for these, let's just take a quick look at the appearance and just kind of the overall design first. So the first thing that should jump out to you if you are familiar with his second model from last year is that these are going to feature a strap that runs across the middle of the shoe that wasn't there on the first two models. And I'm always a fan of straps on basketball shoes. Not only do they add like a little extra lockdown to play in, but I just think it looks pretty cool on those shoes as well, on most of them anyways. So the one downfall to the strap that you could argue is that it gives you another piece on the shoe that is capable of breaking, but I've never had that happen to me personally. And then you can see Nike kind of add and take away the strap, you know, pretty often in their shoe lines. You can notice especially with the KD and the Kyrie, like the Kyrie 6 had a strap on there, and then the most recent Kyrie 7 did not. And then vice versa, the KD 13 didn't have a strap, but they did decide to bring it back on his most recent model, the KD 14. So I personally think that's just kind of their way of switching it up, trying to keep it interesting. So just to take a closer look at these really quick, you're going to see those vertical lines kind of running across that strap there. And I do like how they put his nickname, the Freak, on the inside of that strap on the right shoe. And then going ahead and moving up the tongue, these are going to feature like a mismatching design with the key on the right shoe. And then it's going to be like some kind of, the key has like his player logo mixed into it on the grip too, which is kind of a cool piece. And then you're going to have like a lock on the left shoe, so key and lock type theme there. And that will be specific to this Project 34 colorway. Most likely if they play off last year's model, you're either going to see them start to like blow up his player logo and put it on the tongue, or you could see like the Nike swoosh with his nickname, the Freak, on there as well. And I know I'm pretty sure that's what like the orange colorway that's releasing soon, that's what they have for the tongue setup on there. And then quickly, I'm going to go ahead and explain his nickname because I guess calling someone a freak in your daily routine may not sound like much of a compliment at all, but he did gain his nickname, the Greek Freak, first because he was born, or he's from Greece, so that checks out. And then his name Freak comes from his freakish athletic ability on the court, so that checks out too. I'm not just going around calling some guy a freak who could quite literally step on me. He's 7 feet tall. But to finish up the design now, you are going to have that wing that kind of runs up the side of that midsole, the outside of that midsole right there. And I'm going to get more into the use of that in the performance section in just a second. And then Giannis's shoe line does feature that reverse swoosh on there. Kind of similar to what you saw in the Zoom Freak 1, but of course much smaller. And then I'd say that I like the look of these about the same as last year's model. I'm maybe going to give these a slight edge because they did add that strap back to these, but that kind of covers their look for these. So now let's go ahead and check out how these shoes hold up on the court. All right, so for the last half of this review, I'll combine the comfort, the traction, the materials, just basically how these hold up on the court. So let me go ahead and start off with the cushion on these before I move up the rest of the shoe. So the Zoom Freak 3 model is going to be noticeably more comfortable than the Zoom Freak 2. So this midsole is sort of going to be hollowed out underneath the front half of that shoe, allowing for 2 Zoom Air units or pods, whatever you want to call them, in this 4 foot region that feels super soft to play in. And something cool that Nike did when creating these is that if you look off to the outside, or I guess like the outer side of that shoe, where that shark tooth, that wing, whatever you want to call this, little strip on the side, it actually engraves the word air into it right there. And that's because that's exactly what's inside of the shoe, those Zoom Air units. But it actually kind of gives you a window, if you peek through that word, into those units. You can actually kind of get more of a visual representation for what's going on for the cushioning inside that shoe, which I thought that was a pretty cool touch, because you're not going to see that on most shoes. And then even with that cushion though, it did still probably take me 10 to 15 minutes to feel comfortable in the shoe. But then after I kind of broke them in a little bit, it felt a lot better. And then the midsole does feel pretty squishy, although it doesn't really compress too much when you apply a ton of pressure to it. But that's going to be more to kind of cater to Giannis's style of play, which does set me up for this next portion. So if you have seen him play, you'll know that Giannis likes to use the Euro step, which is just like a left to right jump, or right to left jump, either way. He uses that quite a bit. So they wanted to make sure that they constructed a shoe to fit that. And I honestly think if that was the goal, they maybe could have used a little better use of materials, quality materials on that upper. It feels like they did use some pretty cheap textiles to kind of make up the front half of the shoe, which is going to be, that's honestly where a lot of the pressure is applied during that Euro step move. But, you know, on my hard cuts, I did kind of definitely feel some give, not really on the side as much, but up in that toe, or like that toe box region. And that's definitely like the area that they decided to cut costs on to keep these cheap, because if you move on from there, these do gain my full attention back whenever you jump all the way down to the bottom of the shoe looking at the traction. So the overall traction design, I think, is pretty sweet. Actually, if you go to Nike, you're going to see it is computer generated outsole with a pattern meant to resemble a topographical map. It's a long word, but that's what Nike says. And then you can kind of see the horizontal indentation right there, indentation, whatever you want to call that. On there, it's going to be similar to the Zoom GT Run that we reviewed last week, which is going to, that's just there to kind of add some flexibility, or it's going to help you grip the court a little bit better as well. But it actually draws some comparisons to previous traction setups, such as the Kobe 9, and it even kind of follows the Klay Thompson 3 almost to a T. And then we have seen Nike do a little bit of that in the past, sort of pulling from other brands, not really tweaking it at all, or in this case, kind of just tweaking it a little bit up in the forefoot region of the shoe. But as for the traction, I definitely do not have any complaints for that at all. And then to finish up with sizing, this is going to be a true to size fit. I would maybe recommend going a half size up, or maybe just avoiding the shoe altogether if you have pretty wide feet, just because it is slightly a narrow fit, it felt like. And then the main reason is going to be because that toe strap, it's only going to stretch so far. So you might not like the look of that if it doesn't make it all the way across. And if it can't meet this Velcro on the other side altogether, it's not really going to be able to strap you down. But overall, with the price being $120, this is going to be a solid shoe. There's plenty of cushion for your feet once you break that in. It's lacking in materials on the upper just a little bit, but it definitely makes up for it with the quality of the traction on the shoe. All right, so that pretty much wraps up our unboxing and performance review on Giannis Antetokounmpo's third shoe with Nike, the Zoom Freak 3 Project 34. Thank you guys for taking some time to watch. If you're interested in purchasing these shoes, just make sure you go ahead and check out the links in the description below. Also, be sure to click the link in our bio, and from there you can find our shoes that are available for sale on our website. And you can also head over to our social media just to stay informed on upcoming sneaker releases. And then last, just feel free to leave a comment below if you like this shoe review, or if you just let us know any other shoes you want us to check out. But until next review, I'm Landon from Shoewear. Peace.